nice canvas with foundation, after applying my moisturizer, of course, I always recommend to use a primer. So in this look, I did use my all-time favorite, and that is the Too Faced Primed and Poreless Primer. And I just applied that all over my face. Like for the face, we also want a nice canvas for our eyelids, and also we want our eyeshadows to last as long as possible and be true to color as possible. So I use Too Faced Shadow Insurance Primer on that. To cancel out any redness in my face, these are, I believe it was acne or acne scarring that I had. I used the Makeup Forever palette in the number 5, and I used the green color in it to cancel out the redness. I applied it with first a small eyeshadow brush, but you do want to make sure that you first blend out the green as much as possible without taking it away, because again, we don't want that green showing up on our face. After placing the green corrector, I then applied MAC's Pro Longwear Concealer in NC35, a lighter shade, and then anytime you color correct, you also want to use a concealer that's the same tone as your skin tone. So then I use NC42 right above that, and for both, I use my beauty blender to really blend that out. I also color corrected my under eyes to kind of cancel out any bluish tones right underneath with NYX's Dark Circle Concealer. And this is just like a salmony concealer as far as color wise. And again, it's just going to cancel out any bluish tones that I have down there. And also for my eyes, I wanted them to be pretty even. So before I applied my eye primer, I did apply Maybelline's Insta Age Rewind Concealer in medium on my eyelid space. And the base that I use for my eyeshadow is MAC's Paint Pot in Painterly, which is more of a pink toned paint pot. And I just applied it with a big flat eyeshadow brush and took it up to my brow bone. To start off with a fun part, I went into the MAC Warm Neutral palette and I used Unwind on my crease. So I started on my outer corner and then brought it into my crease and really blended that out. I wanted this look to be a little bit washed out, but since the eyeshadow had a little bit of shimmer, it still looked nice and it looked like I was wearing eyeshadow, even though that color is the same tone as my skin tone. And because of that, of course, it is going to look different on different people of different skin tones, but like I said, the shimmer really makes it makes that eyeshadow, you know, kind of pop out if you are around the similar complexion as I. To add some color, I went in with Ginger Snap from that same palette, and I really just concentrated that mainly on the outer corner of my eye, but then I did want to create that gradient effect and then brought it in to about halfway in my eye and really make sure to blend that out with the brush I was using. After I applied that color, I went in with either Hate or Warm Breeze. It's horrible that I can't even remember, but this was a while back ago and I didn't write it down. But I applied that on the inner part of my eye and I used a flat brush with that. And again, I made sure to kind of, you know, create the gradient effect. We don't want any harsh lines. And then for the brow bone area, I'm pretty sure I used a shimmery brow. It was either Hate or Warm Breeze also. It was probably more than likely Warm Breeze for both of them. I really wanted my face to be, you know, defined and contoured and highlighted. So for the highlight, I did use NC35. That's MAC's Pro Longwear Concealer. And I just applied that right underneath my under eyes, and I kind of brought it down to about, I guess you could say, where my cheekbone is, kind of creating that triangle and then blending that out nicely with my beauty blender. When I was doing my left eye, I kind of noticed that I wanted a little bit more depth in the eye look, so I did apply Dance in the Dark from that same palette on the outer part of my eye, and I really wanted to just concentrate it there, but I applied it with a brush that has kind of hard bristles, which is the first one you see here, and then I did go in and blended it out just a little bit, but I just wanted it on the outer corner. I didn't want to bring it in too much. Like I said earlier, I really wanted a defined sculpted face. So what I did is I grabbed a MAC's ProSculpting cream in Coffee Walnut, which is very creamy, and I just really created a line along the hollows of my cheeks. And then with a small blush, I blended that out a little bit, and then you'll see in a little bit, I grab a bigger brush and blend that out diagonally and also in circular motions to keep it as natural as possible. To set my under eye area, I grabbed a big powder brush, and I used Rimmell London Stay Matte Silky Beige to apply that right underneath. And then this step is completely extra and optional. What I did is I applied MAC's Pro Longwear Concealer in C35, which is a few shades lighter than my skin tone. And I really just created that line and then blended it out with my beauty blender. And what this does, it really adds more depth into the hollows of my cheeks to really make it seem like it's more sunken in. Two maybe contradicting ideas here, but I also like making my contour look as natural as possible. So what I like to do is I like to grab a powder bronzer and kind of place that above where I applied the cream contour, and the one I used here is from the contour kit from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I believe I used the darkest shade, which is Espresso, and I like taking a blush or angled brush and really just applying that in diagonal and circular motions, really making sure it's nice and blended. Because the blush that I decided to use was so intense, it's seriously like a very intense orangey coral. But because of that, I used a stippling brush, and the one I'm talking about is NARS Liberté. I applied that really just on the apples of my cheeks, my nose, a little bit on my forehead, and a little bit on my chin. This look wouldn't be complete without some highlight, so I decided to go with Oh Darling from MAC, and it's the Extra Dimension Skin Finish in one of their most recent collections. And I used a fan brush and applied that on the highest points of my cheek. And then I also wanted to open up my eyes a little bit more since I wasn't really going to wear any product on my lash line, and I applied MAC's Risque Kohl Liner. And then just to add a little bit of mascara, I did use one of the, I believe is Maybelline's mascaras, and I applied that to kind of define my lower lashes. I did also want to add a little bit of highlight in my inner corner, and I went in with either Warm Breeze or Hay from that same palette and applied that with a small detail brush. And then I also wanted to reapply the lip color I was wearing. It's Cork, and it's a lip liner from MAC. And then I applied a little bit of lipstick Modesty, also from MAC. But that pretty much completes the look, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to comment. And I will see you next time.